We are back with one of the happiest guys in the entire universe. Bradford Ferguson has not seen his children, his wife, any of his other family members unless they're in the truck. That's the only time he sees them now. So
In the Cybertruck.
in the Cybertruck, that's the only time. So Bradford, you've had it for like since the last time I saw you. I think you got it that day, or were you gonna
Got it the next
the
day.
next
One
day?
of three delivered in Indiana. So the first three delivered in Indiana. So I was very, very lucky and been driving around a lot. Also gave a lot of 12.3.3 supervised self-driving rides to my family around Easter. We'll
Yes.
talk about that too.
All right. But apparently you're really excited to talk to me about your Cybertruck.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
So,
go for it.
so we'll get right into it. So yeah, it draws a lot of attention. You need to be careful when you're driving around. People might, be on their camera, their phone, as a camera, and you'll be swerving around. It stops traffic. So like whenever I'm going through roundabouts, there'll be people on different spokes of the roundabout, and I'll hear honks because they're not going when they could have, because they want me to drive by in the Cybertruck. I'll see cars where not only is the passenger on their phone, but the driver is too. Like they're both taking a picture or video. Um, yeah, it's pretty crazy. The reactions are, mostly positive. There's a lot of shock faces. Like I didn't know jaws could drop as far as they do. Literally, there was someone who stared at me as I drove by, and their mouth was like this for like 30 seconds straight. It was like I didn't know that was possible. Yeah, so Cybertruck draws a ton of attention. I think it's gonna garner Tesla a lot of attention. There are people that it's not for them. Someone drove by my house and was like, "It's not a real truck." Um, there was another person when I was getting dog food. They said they think it's hideous,
Mhm.
and they called it a concept car.
Concept car.
Yeah, I stay quiet in that interaction, but
Yeah.
car makers don't mass produce a concept car. It's real. They're selling it to customers.
For 100,000 to 120,000 each.
Yep. It's not a demo vehicle. It is real. And it drives like a Model X. You
Okay.
can have different suspension modes. There's like a sport mode where it's closer to the road, the suspension is tighter, and it sets the acceleration to standard, or if you have the beast, whatever that one's called. Maybe it's beast mode, I don't know. Um, and then there's a comfort where it sits higher. The suspension's like kind of like on pillows, and the acceleration's set to chill.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. It has an off-road mode. There's a special setting on the off-road mode where you can set it to extract, where it gets even higher. And when the suspension changes levels, it's very smooth and pretty quiet.
Right.
Um, it's a really nice vehicle. It's got a lot of space. The rear seats fold up, so you can it's probably like this in the rear seats where you can just lay something, right across. It's probably like 5 feet wide by, by however tall. It's got a lot of room.
So Larry couldn't fit his in his garage. Were you able to fit yours in your garage?
I was.
Oh, look at you. All
Yeah.
right.
I was able to make that happen a couple days ago. So I moved some shelving in my garage. I was able to get it in. I'm not sure if this is the right measurement, but the Cybertruck is 18 and a half feet long, I think. That's how we measured it by tape measure, and it's able to get into a 20-foot garage.
It's kind of standard, right?
supposedly. But I did, park a little diagonal to do that.
Okay.
Um, so it seems to work fine. I can see how it wouldn't fit in all garages, but
So, so what about, I mean, again, a lot has been made, so many of these guys, even the ones that really, really like it and have said it's just an amazing vehicle. They've had these little digs about this and that and the other. And then they just forget to even mention how quiet it is and about the stereo system. Have you had an opportunity to really think through this business of being quiet? Somebody said drove like a Rolls Royce. I mean, you say it drives
Mhm.
like an X. Does an X drive as nicely? I haven't been in a Rolls Royce in my entire life, I don't think. So,
I feel like it drives as well as an X and is very quiet. The only thing you notice is a little bit of whine from the motor. So
okay.
it is a heavier vehicle than the X, and the motors have to work a little harder. But you don't hear um, noise from the tires on the road. So it is unbelievably quiet. It has the HEPA filters, so the great air filtering. Yeah, the sound system's great too. I had to turn down the bass a little bit.
Okay. Oh man. Well, and
Yeah, it's a really good vehicle, and um, people are just like really excited about it, and a lot of shocked faces. So it's it's strange to me, but like a lot of people don't know what it is.
yeah.
When I ask folks who makes it, most people say Elon Musk.
Oh, interesting.
So there's no like Tesla on it, but
Right,
they
right,
associate it with Elon.
right, right.
So I do think there's a there still is an awareness problem around Tesla.
Sure.
But I think the Cybertruck's going to do a lot to help that as long as people are able to connect the dots.
Yeah. Well, if Kim Kardashian keeps taking pictures with it and putting it up on her X platform and Facebook and Instagram, I think they say now she's done 4 series of these pictures, and that alone is worth who knows what that is worth in terms of advertising dollars.
Yeah, it's got to be very valuable. I think though a lot of her posts don't even mention Tesla or Cybertruck.
Oh, no, no. But
So that's just like completely left out.
but if you're looking at the picture and you happen to notice anything besides her,
Yeah.
you're gonna see this
Then you might tell your friends.
well, you see this odd looking vehicle and you're gonna say, what is that? What is it that she,
Yeah.
yeah, especially guys. I mean, I guess, gals do.
There's
So, so,
a lot of women who see the truck and they're freaked out by it, and
yeah.
they'll take pictures, they'll take video, they'll like make a huge face at me. Yeah, just the shocked faces I see are pretty hilarious.
What about the whole business of reaching over the side to, get stuff in the bed? If you have things that are, because it's too tall, the sides are too tall up close to the cab. Have you had an opportunity to play with that at all or to think about it?
I don't think it's a big deal. One, you have the tonneau cover, and I gotta think, even if you are using it for work, you're going to want to use that cover.
Mhm.
Um, and you'll have that cover closed when you're on the road
Right, of
because you might as well close it so stuff isn't flying out.
course. And
But then you have all these mount points inside. There's so many, like they have the mount points all along the bed, but then you can add these Molex things where it creates all these mount points for gear and tool belts, etc. Um, yeah, I could see a little bit of that criticism, but there's a lot of tradespeople or people who are laborers who see the truck and are very smitten with it. So
okay, all right.
it's pretty popular as far as just like the looks I'm getting and um, the reaction I'm getting from it.
So anything else on the Cybertruck, or should we move to FSD?
Well, I am downloading a software update for Cybertruck. I don't know what all this update adds, but hope to find that out
Okay.
later on tonight.
All right. Okay. You said you gave a bunch of relatives the FSD treatment over Easter, and so
Yeah,
what were people saying?
they were amazed. They were really blown away. I probably gave FSD supervised Tesla self-driving rides to about 15 people, and it did really well. And it wasn't without disengagements completely. There was one ride I gave where it failed to just stop when an emergency vehicle came the other way in an undivided road. It failed to stop for that. Um, that was probably the most glaring thing, but it did a great job. People were blown away by it. A lot of positive comments from it. Yeah.
And were these people mostly familiar with Tesla because of you, or were they generally just kind of the average?
Yeah,
Uh,
they're family, more like, average. People are working, and I'd probably shown some of them the software before. So I think some might have been a little reluctant or wondering what it's all about, but once they saw it, they were, really impressed.
so we've been
And
watching.
and for me, it's like something I want to show off to friends and family again now.
Sure.
Whereas before, like I if it was on the mind, I might have been reluctant to do it, or be ready to make excuses for it.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I've been trying to keep my eyeballs on X, seeing what people that are downloading, getting the free 30 days, or who have
Mhm.
to pick up their car. But of course, I can't see it all, and you might have seen more than I've seen, or seen different than I've seen. Have you been able to glean any kind of an idea of how people in those cases so far are responding? Do we think that people are, you know, taking Tesla up on their $200 a month, or feeling like they're getting that this is really worth it?
Yeah, what I'm hearing from people is it looks like they're going to gain some subscriptions from this, just from people who are willing to talk about it on X. Most people on X just lurk. So it's like, I think 90% or something like that are just lurking on X. So for someone to come out and say, hey, I tried the software, it was really good, I was blown away, um, I think is real positive. Generally, I'm seeing, feels to me like 80 to 90% positive. I think it's closer to 90%. There are some people in Canada, and some people with maybe just some situations that are difficult where it's not living up to their expectations. Um, but it seems like 90% or so are like really floored by how good supervised self-driving is by Tesla.
So, all right. So
And
we'll
we put out a video, I think last week, about what a increase in take rate might look like financially. So that's on the Rebellionaire YouTube
oh,
channel.
okay. All right. Yeah. And in fact, Cern and I are going to do one. Well, we've already done it, but it'll be published, I think, tomorrow. That also takes kind of a look at that. We
Mhm.
came up with. He thought it. Oh no. No, never mind, because I'm thinking about too many things at
Mhm.
once. So, but yes, I
I
think.
I will say one other item is, we did publish a video about Lemonade on our Rebellionaire YouTube channel, and their CEO is about to be interviewed by a paper bag investor on YouTube, and um, it our model seems to be pretty dead on for what the CEO is describing. So people may want to check that out.
All right. Okay. So we had a massive outperformed today by Tesla, and then tailed off at the end. I have my theories about why Tesla jumped. Well, first of all, why it didn't go down as much as expected on Tuesday, because obviously when you have that kind of a miss of a miss of a miss, in every way it was a miss.
Mm,
On Tuesday, I expected it to go down more. So it didn't go down very much on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, it outperformed. And then today, it was dramatically outperforming from the get-go and
mm.
tailed off at the end. So I've got theories, but I'll let you go first.
Well, when you say outperforming, you're meaning the market was down
The
and
market
Tesla
ended,
was
yeah,
was
well,
up.
but it was outperforming all day.
Yeah.
It was outperforming the Mag 7. It was outperforming the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really surprised by it, to be honest.
Okay.
I think, maybe there's just enough people who are seeing how good V12 is and are, seeing the stock was down on Tuesday, and then they said, well, it's not going to stay down long. I'm going to buy. I'm just theorizing here. I'm not. um, I think that's part of it. I'm really surprised though. Like, there was a big shortfall in the deliveries versus the production,
Yes.
45,000.
Right.
It raises some questions on whether Tesla made a bunch of Model Ys in the US that went unsold. Um, it just raises questions. So I'm really surprised that the market took it in stride. Um,
So
Jeff said it, when you have so many different disruptions, that can mess with your deliveries. Um, that's possible, but Tesla did enter the quarter with inventory. So, why wouldn't they keep the trucks running all quarter? I think Elon, calling for beta test rides, that slowed things down. Typical Tesla delivery, you might get the person for 5 minutes. You'd be lucky if they show you the map or where the emergency latch is on the door. Two really important things, like people understand the supercharger map and all that. But then he's forcing these beta rides on people.
yeah.
And so, I think that slowed things down. But I think I was wrong about something, and
Uh-oh.
maybe this is more your theory. And so I came around to this before we talked. People are seeing how good the Model 3 Plus is, the updated Model 3 or upgraded, whatever Tesla calls it. And they're saying, okay, well, Model Y is next. So I'd love another Model Y, but I want to wait till the Model Y gets the perforated seats, gets the really good sound dampening, gets the accent lighting, all that stuff, all those goods. The really nice console, even if I don't use the back seats. uh, so the Model Y might be getting Osborne now, and that could be challenging because in the US, the new Model Y might not be coming until 2025.
Yeah.
But also you see other models potentially just getting more attention. People see the Model 3 ludicrous, and then they might start waiting for one of those. They see the Cybertruck, and that diverts their attention. And that ultimately takes away attention possibly for Tesla's best-selling car, the Model Y. I think that's more the camp you're in,
I think
but
that's very.
I'm curious what you want to add to it.
All right. So I've been thinking about this all week. I've been talking about it all week, and nobody really wants to buy into my theory, but I now have it figured out. My wife and I have never owned a truck. Either one of us have owned a truck, period. We put it
Yeah.
in order the first day. You've never owned a truck. We had that conversation before we came on air. Jeff Lutz has never owned a truck.
Right.
Larry Goldberg has never owned a truck. He's driven Lamborghinis
Right.
and Rolls Royces, and I've driven Jaguars and Cadillacs, and I mean, to buy a truck is a completely different world. So I think there is a whole bunch of people wanting to buy the Cybertruck as that statement. It is, when I bought my Jag, my first Jag, it was a statement vehicle. I mean, I'd always loved Jaguars. I'd always thought it was the coolest car of all the cars.
Mhm.
I had to wait and drive a car back in the days when you traded in your car at 110,000. I drove it to 150,000 so I could afford that Jag. It was a statement car. It was a lifestyle choice. It was something that I wanted to be seen in. Well, later
Mhm.
on, I decided that was not such a good thing for my ego to want to be seen in a car. But right now, that is what what the Cybertruck is. It's the car
Mhm.
to be seen in. And so I think that it's attracting people that are not truck drivers who would be
Mhm.
SUV, who would normally maybe buy a Model Y. And I think that's hurting Model Y sales. I really believe it.
Yeah, yeah, celebrities, but also people who don't mind the attention, or they want to promote Tesla.
Yeah,
I knew Cybertruck would get a lot of attention, but I mainly want to promote Tesla in my area.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but and it's also tech. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm also, I
Yeah.
don't know about you, I'm a guy who buys the first tech item. I'm an early adopter. Well, so I'm an early adopter on a Model Y, but I'm also right now going to be an early adopter on a Cybertruck, taking away a Model Y purchase.
Mhm.
If I was 5 years younger, I'd be buying the Ludicrous. There's no question in my mind that I'd be buying that Model 3 Ludicrous. So we
And
are,
if you want to own it first, it's an extra 20 grand.
it's an
And
extra
that goes right to Tesla's bottom line.
Exactly right. Yes. So anyway, that's part of my theory in terms of what happened in the quarter. Might continue to be a problem all year. I do have this hope that Elon Musk is smart enough, because I know he is. I'm not saying I'm hoping he is. He actually is smart enough. If they're getting data in that shows that they're Osborning the Model Y, or that they're cannibalizing the Model Y, and that it's because of the junipers not being in place, I think they're gonna, I think they're gonna find a way. And they don't, in my opinion, they don't need to make the body style change. Make the changes that people really care about right now, which is that double pane glass, the suspension, the rear screen, the interior lighting. Those are easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to do the body change right now. And they
But
did it.
unfortunately, in the auto business, there's a long lead time or long lag time. So when they first started up the Model 3 Plus in the US, the production was really low. It only came on to like 75% toward the end of this quarter. And part of that might have been supply chain, getting all the parts of the supply chain singing in unison. Um, it might be troublesome for Tesla to just like snap their fingers and get the suppliers to suddenly give them all the new parts on the interior. That might be a little challenging,
Oh,
but
they couldn't do it in a month, but they might be able to do it in 4.
yeah, that's true.
So, okay, so let's talk about today's stock market action. So my impression based on the timing was it was the India announcement. There was the India
Mm.
announcement yesterday, okay, that said that there was Tesla people on the ground in India looking for locations. That's a little surprising. I would have thought they would have had that location pretty well picked out. But the decision by the Indian government was just a week ago or so, where they said that they would, do a deal on the imports.
Hmm.
Now we had reporting that there was people on the ground looking for locations. And then this morning, there was the reporting that Tesla was shifting some production in Berlin to right-hand drive for India later this year. So, and that was Reuters, and that was 4 sources they had on that.
Hmm.
So if they're shifting some production to send to India, now they can only do 8,000 with the 15% tax.
Right.
It's 8,000 a year, but you could blend that. So if you normally have, I forget what the normal tax is, maybe it's 100% or 80, I forget what it is, but you could blend that because when you, just like every place else where you're first going into the country, you're going to be able to charge more.
Mhm.
By using some blended pricing or whatever, maybe they could get more than 8,000 into India this year. Then there's the question of how quickly they start, building this plant. But I think the India thing moving up in priority today with a few news reports like that, I think that could have been the additional stimulus that actually caused a tick today. That's one theory. The other theory is more closely aligned.
And that there's a lot of investors in Tesla who were born in India and live in the US or live in Canada or UK, whatever.
I live in India.
And they might have been incremental buyers today too.
Yeah. My other theory is,
but it is good encouraging news. Like, I think Tesla has to make an investment in order to get that full benefit.
right.
So, that signals that, they wouldn't have some kind of investment in India.
Yeah, they have to have the investment to get the deal.
Mhm.
So the other one, my other approach would be more like yours, which takes into consideration the entire week. So we have not really seen a bump from Cybertruck. We have not really seen a bump from FSD being so much better.
Mhm.
Not really seen a bump from the Cybertruck halo effect from all of these stars driving these things around. So the stock market has not responded like I would have expected it to all of this good news.
Yeah.
And so I could see where there could have been a bottom. Like every time, like you were saying, every time it got around 165, a bunch of money said, uh-oh, this is a good place for me to get in. So that
Mhm.
could be what's going on. Certainly Cathie would be one of those people. She's been buying it hand over fist. So
Yeah,
she could have been propping it up all on her own with her purchases.
that's true.
But anyway, then the whole market crumbled. And I was like, what in the world happened? I mean, it was like straight down like this. I looked all day and finally I saw it just before we came on air. It appears that the Biden administration, just at the time it happened, said that the Ukraine will be coming into the UN. I mean, into the NATO.
Oh,
That
okay.
and that I mean, I guess that's there's still a whole bunch of voting and stuff that would have to take place, but
Mhm.
it's really sticking it in the eye of Putin. And,
Mhm.
and the market fell, not horribly, but it fell pretty substantially after that statement. Now, there was also about
Yeah, it creates a lot of uncertainty. I think people don't understand necessarily how that works. I am not a political scientist. I'm not an expert, but as far as I understand, there's an Article 5 where NATO countries agree to defend each other if invaded.
right,
So typically, a country is only brought into NATO if a conflict has ended. But the conflict has already begun. So it's not like if the conflict continued in Ukraine, that suddenly all these other countries would be getting involved. But I think um, people's confusion about how that works, that would create some uncertainty. It also could just be algos, reading this
right.
news and being like, okay, well, uncertainty in Ukraine. Um, yeah, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and of course, the other thing was we had, I think, 8 Fed governors speaking today. And at least one of them, I forget which one, because there's too many of them for me to keep them all memorized. At least one of them was hawkish. Uh,
Okay.
and so that also could have possibly been a part of what was going on.
And this was around 1 p.m. That Tesla hit a peak.
Yeah, well, Tesla went down with the market. I mean, it was just exactly the same time as, I mean, it had gone a little bit off of its highs, but then it dropped at exactly, I think it was 130 or 115, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
So
sense to me.
All right, well, there you go. So we have some agreement. So trueflation is indicating that prices are dropping the most on lodging, consumer durables, and personal care items. Those are all three consumer discretionaries. And I did a story, I think I did it this morning. I can't remember whether I did it this morning or I just read it this morning, but about one particular pundit saying that when the consumers stop buying those consumer discretionaries, that is a real recessionary signal. That when people are having to pay more for gas and more for regular groceries, now they have to make a decision. Do I drive as much as I normally drive, or do I still buy that discretionary item that I don't absolutely have to have? So those three were, I mean, dramatically down in terms of prices. The rest pretty much across the line, I just went through the list. Pretty much the rest are, hanging in there, kind of hanging in there.
Yeah.
But this would be one more evidence, maybe, that we're on the verge of some kind of recession.
Yeah, we've also seen a wiggle in some of the jobs data. I forget specifically the title of it, but the graph started moving down, it ticked down pretty noticeably, and that there has been fake outs of that graph where it didn't actually foretell a recession.
Right.
But if it keeps going, then it's never done that without recession. Yeah, there's some clouds in the sky, and supposedly Indiana is going to have some clouds in the sky for the eclipse. So hopefully that clears up.
I hope so for your sake. So the other thing was, darn, I'm forgetting. Yeah. Tomorrow. So the jobs numbers come out tomorrow. I feel like it is that and the CPI are the two things right now that are running our lives. And the Fed's relationship to those two numbers. Any thoughts about where you think the job numbers will look tomorrow?
No, I haven't had any time to analyze that.
Yeah.
I've been in the Cybertruck and in the supervised self-driving.
Well, I've had plenty of time to analyze it, but I haven't got a guess, except my big, what I've been telling this audience is pay attention, not to the headline number, because the headline number has been wrong every month. Pay attention to the revisions from the prior 2 months. Pay attention to the hours worked. Is that going up or down? And pay attention to what the pay increases or decreases are. One of the highest numbers, one of the highest and hottest numbers was ADP on Wednesday, showing a 0.5% increase in wages, which is way over where the Fed wants it to be. So if we see that also on the federal numbers, if it's 0.4, 0.5, that would suggest that the choice to lower interest rates is probably going to be put off quite a while. That's my thinking.
Yeah, those are good things to watch in that report.
Tesla in the after hours up another 77 cents. So recovering some of that loss it had during the day. So right now, Tesla is acting awfully strong. So maybe some of what we're talking about is actually taking place. Maybe there's a lot more built-in good news that is causing the folks that are normally interested in the stock to say, yeah, this is a good time to buy some. Of course, the smart move is to buy things when they're pushed down, right? You're an investment advisor. Isn't that the smart move?
Generally, you want to buy low and sell high. Nvidia's off 100 points off of its highs. It's down more than 10% off of its highs.
It was down 30 today. But it's
30 points, yeah.
30 points.
But more than 10% off of its high that it hit. So like there's some some bloom coming off those momentum names.
And we've had 3 days in a row now of the indexes all being down. And significantly, 4 days in a row. We had the 2 big days. Was it down yesterday? Was the Dow and the Nasdaq down yesterday? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not paying attention to the indexes. I'm paying attention to Tesla.
Yeah, right. Just a
And I'm
second.
in the middle of reporting, so
Oh yeah,
quarterly reporting. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
tend to tunnel in and focus on that.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, it's been a kind of rough week for the market. Let's just put it that way. And any thought? Do you think that we need a 5% retrenchment here before it can go higher, or a 10% off before we go higher, or do you think it's just we're just taking a breather?
I don't have any call there.
No call. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the things that are the most interesting to me,
I'm curious what Bitcoin's doing. I feel like
we'll get there.
people FOMO'd into that, but we'll see. I'm curious, is it hanging in there?
All right, we'll get there in a second. Let me take it in order though, because otherwise I'll get confused. Because I
All
am
right.
all right. So we have the 10-year recovering, continuing higher, but only 0.3 of a basis point. But it's at 43.12, 4.312. 2-year up a little more than that, but not significantly. And the 2-month up a lot, up 5 basis points in the pre-market. So 5.7 actually. So that's pretty significant. It had gotten all the way down to where it was only about 100 basis points between the 2-month and the 10-year. And now there's 5 of those put back on. So interesting, really interesting. Okay, we've got the dollar stable. It's unch.
Unched,
I've taken that from you.
unchanged.
I've stolen that from you, and I'm using it all the time now. Okay, we've got oil up another 35 cents. Brent has broken above 90, is 91.11. A lot of people,
Has Larry figured out what unched means?
I think so. I think so.
Okay. All right.
So Brent is some people talking about going to 100, and I don't.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like they're.
Ukraine continues to strike Russian oil assets
Yes.
in Russia.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's contributing to it.
Yes, definitely. And natural gas down again. So interesting to see such a strong move on oil and such a strong move down on natural gas. This is, again, usually because they can be used interchangeably in some industries, usually they move a little closer than this together. But right now, they're definitely moving in opposite directions. We're almost the Bitcoin. Gold is continuing to hit all-time highs, 2,306 now, down a little bit in the pre-market, and copper down a little bit also, but very strong at $4.21. Okay, here we go. Bitcoin up 2,381 at 68,269. So does that mean anything to you?
Down a bit off its highs.
Oh, yeah, it's down 6,000 off its highs, right?
Yep.
73 or something. I forget what
Mhm.
Yeah. So it came down a lot of its high, but it's been obviously recovering today. Equities for tomorrow up barely. So Dow 10, S&P 350, and NASDAQ 1450. So I would call that, how does these,
Unched.
yeah, it's Unch Plus. How about Unch Plus?
There you go.
All right. So that's the story. Any additional thoughts for the gathered multitudes, the millions of people watching this program tonight?
Yeah, I think Tesla has an awareness problem, but had 2 really good things that have happened in the past week or weeks. So Cybertruck is scaling, and Cybertruck, it is just an awareness bomb. People see the design of it, they're very triggered by it. It's very polarizing. People can try to ignore it, but you almost have to have like a positive or negative or just shocked reaction to it. And then the FSD supervised self-driving from Tesla, giving it away as a trial was a masterstroke by Elon. Forcing people to experience it if they're getting delivered a car or getting their car repaired, or just seen by service. These things are going to do a lot to enhance awareness around Tesla, and just the software being so much better now that people want to drive it more and show it to their relatives, friends, coworkers, their neighbors. I think it's possible this awareness snowball might finally get going about like how good Tesla's doing in several different aspects.
Yeah. All right then. Well, enjoy your Cybertruck. Everybody's jealous of you, of course. And but we'll at my house, we'll just have to wait till next year. I'm sure we'll be fine. So, but
And
that's
I'll let people know what the update is on X.
okay. Perfect. That'll be great. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you so much as always for co-hosting on Thursday night. And I think we had very good news today. So it
Yeah,
must be your presence on Thursday that the stock has to
lots
go
of good
up.
news.
Right.
Tesla bucking the trends, pretty unusual.
That's right. Okay. Bradford, thank you so much for being on. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Bye for now.